Alright, this is going to be a little bit different than usual recordings. For one, there are no pillows on the bed. And for two, I decided to wear a shirt with an actual brand on it. That's that's it though. Nothing else is different. If you notice anything else different, you can tell me that in the comment section because I don't really see anything different. Um so today we're going to be talking about the games that I've watched, how I feel about teams heading out of week one, because like the first week of basketball has really progressed. My team is undefeated, love that. The Celtics are undefeated, don't really love that either. But I mean, hey, I'm gonna talk about how I really feel about certain teams going into the week and like how they think they're gonna progress and stuff. Because I'm really kind of worried and anxious about certain teams, and I'm really kind of like not worried about certain teams, and then I'm really kind of like, oh, sleeper team. This is the team that everybody has been ignoring. Blah 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 blah. Right. Let me just reiterate. Currently, who I think is going to finish the season in the playoffs and in the playoffs or like in the bracket. The final bracket will look like this, right? Basically, these are the teams that will be in the bracket. We're gonna start out east real quick. Out east, Boston, Cleveland, Philly. Not in any order, by the way. Milwaukee, the Magic, the Pacers, and then my eighth team. Like I said, Celtics, Cavaliers, Sixers, Bucks, Knicks, Pacers, and the Magic. These are the teams that I have coming out of the East, being in the playoff bracket. It looks very similar to last year because it's literally every team that made the playoffs last year. I do not predict any team going any further than last year. I think Detroit is going to make a step forward and they're going to progress. I think Atlanta is going to take a step back. I think Trae Young could be moved this season. I'm not sure where he'll be going, but I think he could be moved. So I don't really see the Hawks contending for another play-in spot again. And then out west, this might seem a little bit disrespectful because, I'll get into it. I did just watch this team last night. So if you can take an educated guess before I get to talk to it, I just watched both of these teams last night, and I don't think either of them will make the playoffs. Odd, right? The teams that I have that will be in the final bracket will be your Lakers. I will have Wolves, Mavs, Timberwolves, OKC. It's hard to do this off the top of your head because you're always thinking about standings. You're always thinking about how the teams will play against each other and stuff like that. So let me reiterate. It's the Lakers, the OKC, the Nuggets, the Wolves, the Mavs. Lakers, Nuggets, OKC, Mavs, Timberwolves. There's literally two more teams. Come on, Brandon. I think my sleeper take is the Spurs will make the playoffs. And then my last Western team. My last Western team. They're blanking my mind. Let me just say who I don't think will make the playoffs. I don't think the Pelicans will do it for some reason. Something just telling me not to bet on them. I don't. It's probably Zion's health, Brandon Ingram's health, and like most of the team's health. Basically, DeJounte Murray's not even playing right now. So that's a thing. The question to concern. I'm looking at the Warriors. I think Steph might be moved before the playoffs. Although they really impressed me last night in their game without Steph. Granted, it was against a team that I was not very impressed by, in the New York Pelicans, who both of their stars balled out and everyone else didn't. So I don't think those two teams will make it. The Rockets will definitely not make it. I know that sounds like hate, but hey, I don't believe in them. And then the Suns will make the playoffs. Those are my teams, by the way. Those are my teams out west. I'm not going to repeat and reiterate because if you can just rewind or pay attention, you can do that. It's fine, right? These are the teams I think will make the playoffs. So here are the teams that I'm now currently worried for after watching week one, and here are the teams that I'm like, you're a fraud and you can't fool me. You cannot fool me. I know what I'm seeing from you is not real. You cannot fool me. It is just the first week of basketball, and you can't fool me, right? And I just mean like the week since opening night, because opening night didn't happen on a Monday. We all know that, right? Cool, great. The Lakers look really good with JJ Redick as their coach. I don't think there's really much to say about it. They made a lot of adaptations. I think the team looks better. Running through AD is finally something that we've been asking for so long. LeBron being your number one player is not going to work anymore in this day and age. He is too old, and you should not expect him to be producing at that level. Because, I mean, I hate to break it to you, like, we can't just... The same way we used to go with LeBron, like, oh, he deserves the MVP. Or, well, no, I didn't do this, but bad, dumb people who, like, you wouldn't do this for anyone else, right? You're like, oh, LeBron's old, he deserves it. Like, he's done so much, and think about it in a year. Yeah, we're talking about how he is currently, right? Kevin Durant is in a very similar situation, right? Both of these teams look better under their new coaches. It is not because their old coach was bad. For the Suns, Frank was not a bad coach. It's just like there was nothing you could do with that roster defensively, like seriously. And they're bad defensively this year, and I think they won't make a splash in the playoffs this year either. I think they'll be good enough to make it because their offense is just that good, but defensively they're not going anywhere in the playoffs, just like at all. I truly believe that. Like they don't match up well against anybody. They're very poor. And I truly believe they can get destroyed. Now, do I think they'll get swept in the first round like they did last year against Minnesota? Really depends on who they match up against. Like, if they match up against, like, the Lakers currently, they're probably getting swept, in my opinion. Like, and it's crazy because you're thinking, they just beat the Lakers, though, right? Yeah, the Lakers beat them the first game, though, and they played a back-to-back, and then they lost, right? Like, not really perturbed about that, right? As far as the Cavs have played Detroit, Washington, and another team that's not going to make the playoffs. I can't remember who they played, but they also beat the Knicks, right? So they're currently sitting 4-0, and they're going to play against the Lakers tonight, which is going to be a game that I'm going to watch at 7 p.m. I am concerned for this team because they are showing the same problems they did last year. So I think we're going to probably move off of Jared Allen. I don't think it's the greatest idea in the world, because of how consistent I think Jared Allen is. But if you have to pick a timeline, I guess you pick the younger side of the timeline, right? And Jared Allen will be moved. I'm not sure for what he'll be moved for. I'm hoping it's some help on the perimeter defense side of things, because this team is great defensively, but like I would rather match up against teams in the playoffs. The Magic have been severely underrated. They've always been underrated. I guess the franchise is just like that, right? Paolo dropped a 50 ball on the Indiana Pacers. Now, I'm not going to say, like, a 50 ball on the Pacers is the craziest thing in the world, because the Pacers' defense is... Speaking of the Pacers, you're making me look bad. Stop. Stop what you're doing. Your one win was against Detroit, which... Now, Detroit is a better team than they were last year, but again, it is still Detroit, so really looking spooky out there. And you didn't do it impressively enough for me. And Detroit has been hanging around in a lot of these games. They played against the Celtics. They just hung around them for, like, the most part of the game, and that's scary. They have a new coach, again, which is my old coach from my team, the Cavaliers. J.B. Bickerstaff looks great over there in Detroit. And honestly, I am worried, because I think the Cavs will be out of the playoffs next year. I really don't understand why we held on to Donovan Mitchell. We are not going to be able to give him enough help in the time that he needs. I think we should trade him while he's still a valuable asset. Pretty crazy to say, but now I'm not really sure what team is in the market for him now, because like no one looks as desperate as they did last year, which sucks. So we might just be like the Utah Jazz were out west, where Donovan Mitchell carries the team to the playoffs, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. And then you see it, and you're like, oh, this kind of sucks. Philadelphia, you are exactly what I thought you were. You are a fraud. You are injury prone, just as I thought and suspected. What do I have to say that has not been said about this team already? Realistically, I'm looking at you, I'm staring at you, I'm deep in your soul, like I'm in your mind and headspace. I understand why you don't want to play Joel Embiid so many minutes. I understand why you don't want to play him on a back-to-backs. I understand all of the things that you're doing and what you're saying to me. But you're treating Joel Embiid like he is, like, really old and very injury prone. Yes, he is brittle and very injury prone. This is true. So to help with this, you decided to get Paul George, who is also known to be very brittle. And he got hurt in a preseason game. Mind you, no one is going all out in a preseason game. So him getting hurt in a preseason game seems like a, what do they call it? I don't know, a bad omen. Maybe something that someone could have told you. Like, I don't know, someone like the Clippers, who were willing to let this man go for absolutely nothing. And I know they feel vindicated. That being said, the Clippers, let's get back to you real quick. You have a new stadium. I do not understand why you did not decide to double down on just the entire experience. I don't know. Get rid of Kawhi while you still can. He is a hot potato, and somebody's going to be desperate enough to want him because they understand how good Kawhi Leonard could be. I swear to God, if it's Cleveland, though, I'm going to scream and cry. Although, the last time some Western Conference team just willingly gave up Kawhi Leonard for very little in return, you know, I'm just not. Hey, don't get me started, right? The Warriors. Steph is already injured, which not a good sign. Although you did look very good against the Pelicans. Now I don't really know too much about the Pelicans' defense. I would rather say that it's, you know, pretty bad, right? So you scoring a lot of points on the Pelicans did not really surprise me. Normally this offense looks completely inept without Stephen Curry, which was refreshing. Harrison Barnes, holy crap! Everyone gave the Warriors shit for letting Klay go for absolutely nothing, and you're all idiots. You're dumb. When they let Klay go, I was like, eventually it was gonna come down to which one of the guys not named Steph are you gonna let go, right? And I was thinking, Klay, and the casuals are like, Klay Thompson, you're keeping, right? And you're getting rid of Draymond Green because he's problematic, right? The reason you can't do that is Draymond Green runs your offense and defense. You cannot do that. It's. I don't know how this does need to be said in this day and age, but Draymond Green is still underrated somehow. If he could keep his hands to yourself, I swear to God, you would see it more often and you would understand. People who watch basketball know that Draymond is Steph's best partner. He has always been his best partner. He makes up for a lot of the weaknesses that Steph has defensively, and now that Steph is a okay defender and Draymond is still a very good defender. I saw him play defense against Zion Williamson last night, and I was like, Jesus Christ, he's defending him the entire game. And realistically, even though Zion got his 30, the 30 that he got could have been a lot worse considering what they had in the back line. It was just Kevon Looney and the rest of the nobodies. Those guys were stretch fours, and these stretch fours are not 3-and-D guys. They are stretch fours. They do not have the body frame to play defense on Zion Williamson. Like, no one does, though. So, like, Draymond is probably the best matchup you could hope for on Zion Williamson. I watched that game last night. It was very impressive. Pochetzky, I think I'm saying his name wrong. Pod, if you want to call him that. I think that's what most people call to him, refer to him. Pod looks very good on the Warriors. He looks very fluid. He's getting to his spots. I do want to mention one really funny play that I saw last night. He did a pump fake, and a guy just did not buy it. I was watching the broadcast. I'm like, that was a great pump fake, right? And the defender just did not move at all. He was like, I'm not going for that shit, right? Whatever. Team looks great. Harrison Barnes hit like a lot of threes last night, which is what you were looking for from Klay Thompson, especially considering like his defense is on the decline. Looking at the Mavericks now. The games that I've watched, Klay still can shoot, but at the same time, I know that was a facade, and it was the first game of the season that they played. I know Klay is going to have games where he's going to have great shooting nights, and I also know that Klay's going to have games where he has piss-poor shooting nights, and I mean, like, awful shooting nights. See, if you look at his percentage, you would think that, oh yeah, he's going to hit 4 to 5 of his 10 threes every night, right? But, like, that's not actually what happens. It's more like this. He's going to go nuclear one night and hit 8 of his 8 threes, right? And then the next night he's going to hit 2 of his 7 threes, right? And then you keep doing this until the math winds up being around like 40%, right? Where he's either nuclear hot and taking nothing but great threes. Wide open threes, mind you. And then you're going to have the bad nights where his shot selection is going to shoot you in the foot. Because that's who Klay Thompson is. That's just who he is. And with his defense being in rapid decline, I will say one thing. He looked good against the Spurs. Now, I'm going to put some context around this. It is still the San Antonio Spurs. I think this team will vastly improve throughout the season. The trajectory for this team, and please use your brain, because I know you've seen this type of graph before, is exponential. They will rapidly increase in talent, in quality as the team goes on. Because they're not going to be fucking around anymore. They're not running Jeremy Shohan at point guard last year like they were doing. And Greg Popovich has openly admitted, we were doing that to be bad. It was an experiment. The longer this team goes on, especially with Harrison Barnes as a veteran presence, who is honestly just a great floor raiser and does nothing else for you, really, basically, this team is going to be fine. Now, another team that I've been trying to watch more games of because they had been bad for so long in my life that if you tell me to watch them, I'm just going to be like, no, I'd rather shoot myself in the foot. The Sacramento Kings, I'm looking at them and they look great with the DeMar DeRozan addition. They do not look like a team that will make the playoffs, don't get it wrong, because I think the flaws that this team has is too much. Mike Brown is a defensive coach and also a great offensive coach. However, this team's defensive personnel is boo-boo, garbage, not good. De'Aaron Fox looks like a consistent floor spacer, that's great. Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves. I'm gonna get to them really quickly. This team, by the way, I'm thinking this sporadically because this is how I feel about the NBA. It's not a black and white thing. It's going all over the place. The Kings. No, Wolves. The Wolves. Since making the Julius Randle edition, I still hate this move. It's going to take a while for me to even get used to watching their games now that Julius Randle's on the team. I still hate this move. I just don't like it. Now, the reason it was made is something that I've tried to do in a video that I was supposed to upload, and then I was like, I really don't like this video. It's kind of boring, right? So, the reason I didn't upload the video is the contracts, blah, 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 blah. This team made this move because you do not want to be paying Cat all that much money and not be able to have roster flexibility. You do not want to be in a situation, right, where you're like, okay, this team is really good, but is it good enough to win a championship? Because that is like no man's land. That is the worst place you could possibly be. If you're a pretty good team, good enough to make the playoffs consistently, but like you have nowhere to go because you're like, we don't really have the flexibility to do this, and who wants to get rid of it? And this one asset that was really valuable is the one that we need to keep, and this other asset is not as valuable, but we still need to keep them because they add so much to this team in particular. And then there's the third tertiary asset where you're like, I don't want to give up this guy because he fits really well in what we've got going on. However, what we have going on is not enough really to win a championship because we haven't seen it happen, right? Teams have had this build for a while, but it's never been as crippling as it's been in recent years because, Cat making that much money, I want you to come here with me. This man is going to be making upwards of $60 million in some of those years, and you would never give Cat that type of deal based on the new contractual agreements that the NBA is having as far as team and roster constructions. You would never give him that much money. That would not happen. His contract is kind of a relic of the old NBA, and now that you have him under such contract, you want to get rid of him as quickly as possible. They played hot potato with him, and they winded up with Julius Randle. Now, the way Ant is talking about Julius Randle is giving me less cause for concern. That being said, he is still Julius Randle. I know his shot selection. I know the spots that he likes to play against. They are directly counterintuitive to winning basketball games with Anthony Edwards as your best player. These do not work. They are not a good idea. Everyone who has watched the New York Knicks and has watched the Timberwolves could tell you this. I would like to talk about another player who has a similar type of game to Julius Randle, but like when I see him do the things that Julius Randle does, it doesn't make me go, what the heck are you doing? Then the world's least talked about number one pick, Paolo Banchero. I told you I watched his 50 bomb earlier. I did. So, I don't want to discredit that because it was against the Pacers, but every high scoring point outing has been against a bad team. Duh, that's just how that works. You're not going to score 60 points against the Golden State Warriors unless they want you to score 60 points. Again, look at what LeBron did in the finals. Are we saying that they're a terrible defense? No. It's an elite player, right? Going against a team that's like, well, as long as the other players aren't getting involved, does it really even matter? And it was prime LeBron. No one was going to stop him. This guy's a mixture. He's the LeBron James of Julius Randle's. He is the Carmelo Anthony of Julius Randle's. He is a bad shot taker and net swisher. He is a physical specimen as well. His game is so, like, I when people told me he's LeBron and Carmelo Anthony had a baby, I was like, what are you talking about? The last time you said that player's name was Jabari Parker. So, like, what are we talking about, right? Like, no, of course not. Duh, you can't compare to this guy. No. You can't compare to my city's very own Carmelo Anthony. No, that's stupid, right? Watching his game, though, holy shit, like, he's LeBron size with mellow moves, and he doesn't forget that he's LeBron size, like a Jason Tatum. Which is crazy, because Jason Tatum, I'll get back to him really quickly, because this video is going to be like 20 minutes long. Crazy, right? We'll get back to him really quickly. Jesus Christ, that boy be moving. That boy be hitting those shots. I noticed one thing, though, when I was watching his 50-point outing. He seems to be in love with the right side of the court when it comes to shooting threes, and I mean the top of the key on this side of the arc. I'm going to draw it for you. Let me draw it again. This is Disney Channel. That's the arc, buddy. This is the right side of the arc from my perspective, so it'd be the left side. Here's where he likes to shoot the ball, right side of the arc. Splash, splash, splash in that game. Look good, fluent. He's got those mid-range tendencies, and the mid-range shots that I've seen from him. Now, it might have just been like the effect of you're watching highlight reels, you know how this game goes, but like, Jesus Christ, right? That only makes. the fluidity of his jump shot, where he's taking these jump shots, who he's waiting to get which defender he's waiting to get on him before he takes these jump shots. These are all impressive signs of an elite scorer that is going to be great. And defensively, he's got the frame to be a good defender. If he stays at the level that he's going and at the pace that he's going, he is going to be very, 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 very good. So let's talk about a player who is already very good and making me look like an idiot when I talk about basketball every time I talk about this guy. Because if I say bad things about Jason Tatum, he plays good. And if I say good things about Jason Tatum, he plays bad. Is he still the most streaky shooter in the NBA when it comes to being an all-star? Nope, because that jumper was pure. Oh my god. Opening night. Bucket, 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 bucket. Every three looked like it was going in. Every three felt like it was going in. Anytime he takes a three, I'm not like, oh my god, that's a bad shot anymore. I'm like, oh my god, it's going to go in. Splush. Right? This guy looks like a mixture of... Currently. Don't kill me for saying this. It looks kind of like a Stephen Curry and LeBron James had a baby. He has eliminated all of the terrible mid-range shots out of his diet. Just no mid-range shots that are just bad shots. And none of those shots, they're gone. But he can still make them if he takes them. I don't have a problem with him taking them. As the volume that he was taking them at was, like, alarming. Right? Especially for a perimeter-oriented player that has the tools and frame that he does, right? So he's getting to the basket, great. He's making all this three, basically, he's making a lot of them threes. Them things is raining in Boston. And wherever they go at, right? The Celtics look amazing. Their defense on the perimeter is still amazing. When these guys don't have to be the first option of a point attack defense, they are going to look amazing. If you have Derek White and Drew Holiday as the start of your offense, so every ball handler that has the ball is gonna be like, oh my god, this guy's on me. Jesus Christ, let me get the switch. Call for a pick. You get the pick. Defender gets mushed into the pick. You go over. Now you're going over because you're like, I need to get more space between me, and I'm gonna either settle for this pull-up shot because Porzingis is at the paint, or Porzingis isn't here, he's injured, right? I'm gonna go to the basket, and then you realize, oh yeah, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still on this team. Holy cow, what was I thinking? And then they strip you, and now they're going to the other side, and they generated 2 free fast break points. And now, after that, you missed your shot. They take the rebound. They give it to Jason Tatum. He takes a tough three that's open. He did a step back three, and you're like, that's a bad shot. That's a 5-point swing. And every 5-point swing that this team is going to have every single game, you're going to be looking like, what do I even do about that, right? This team is... And by the way, don't forget this. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are trying to baptize you if you're at the rim, buddy. Watch out for your head top. This is a very... Hey, man. They're not choking leads anymore. And even when they're choking leads, you're like, are they really choking or are they just messing around with their food, right? They just look different. Cleveland, I have not watched a single one of your games. Tonight is the first game I'm going to watch. Please do not disappoint me. I swear, if I watch this game and you disappoint me, this team disappointed me Sunday. That one up there, they disappointed me Sunday. Y'all niggas owe me a win. So, if neither one of these teams wants to perform and act right since I'm watching it, I'm going to be very upset. That being said, if you felt like this video, if it came out, is like passionate and like really good and like high quality and it definitely gives you like the excitement of watching the games without actually watching the games. If you felt like a breakdown was appropriate, give me a like. Me want make videos. Me no want work 9 to 5 like regular person. Me will work 9 to 5 like regular person because bills paid, right? Yeah, huh? Like, subscribe. Please hit buttons.